Whoa, 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 whoa.
What's the problem?
This
What's the matter?
This is not a Jet show.
So what?
So how about this?
Manning lobs it. Boris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Oh, come on. I don't want to hear this.
Why not? Super Bowl champions.
Doesn't matter. I just don't want to hear it.
What do you want to hear?
How about some Mets?
Hey, if I can find one good thing that happened to the Mets, here we go.
Home run by Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be, I'm sorry. We all can't be like the Yankees.
Oh, speaking of.
This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Goodbye, home run. Don Mattingly.
No. God, I can't believe I just said that. All right, well, listen. How about a little Nets?
If I have to.
Kid, the jumper to win it. He got it.
I can't take it. I can't take it anymore. It's been a second. I can't take it. How about some Knicks?
Oh, yeah, big spenders. Can't win a playoff.
Fair enough.
Houston pops out up top, down the lane, running jumper off the front rim, and in.
I guess we should talk a little hockey, no?
People even watch hockey anymore?
They watch the Rangers.
Well, if you have the Rangers, you gotta have some Islanders.
Yeah, no, they didn't have a YouTube in the 80s.
All right, let's get the show started.
Here we are, Polar Opposites. Hello and welcome to the Polar Opposites podcast on polaropposites.podbean.com. We're also on iTunes and live on Spreaker.com right now. Also follow us on Twitter at Polar Opposites 1. I'm Matt Stevens. Alongside me, as always,
Is Craig Moffitt.
And Craig.
Maddie, we are more than 24 hours away. We are more than 24 hours away
From
the Yankees
No, it's not. It's it. You're muted already. It took 2 seconds.
winning the World Series.
Stop.
Come
Just
on.
stop.
Come on.
Will you stop?
Get
Okay.
with the program.
Okay.
Get with the program.
We're going to talk about the Yankees. We're going to start with the Yankees. We're going to do some Jets and Giants.
You can take the Yankees. I don't
Well, no, but because there are some things we have to talk about, like the Joe Girardi and the fans and the whole thing and the
Fans.
The fans are idiots, right? You know me, and you know that I believe that not 75% of Yankee fans are morons
and front runners.
Oh, massive front runners. I mean, brutal front runners. Like, I'm watching, like, I remember games. Like, I remember the Andy Hawkins no-hitter that we lost, okay, back in the early 90s. All right, I remember that game because I watched it on Pix 11. So, we're going to do the Yankees first. We will not be talking about the Mets. Although, real quick, I want to say this.
Well, actually, what's there to talk about the Mets?
No, there is something to talk about, and we're going to mention this real quick. The Mets finally
What'd they do?
moved their AAA team
to Syracuse.
to the East Coast.
It's about to have another year at Vegas.
Right, fine. But
2019.
like the light at the end of the tunnel thing, right? So
It's fantastic.
Right, yeah, finally. You don't have to.
It's a 1 hour flight to Flushing from there.
Freaking guy coming through the red eye and killing himself to get here because he's in freaking stupid Vegas. So the Mets finally did that. We're going to talk Jets. We're going to talk Giants. We won't do much else in the NFL because we got some in polar bipolar, which we're going to do. Which polar bipolar is going to be a little different today. We're actually going to do it all in 10 minutes. Is it 10 questions?
Yeah, it's 10.
It's 10 questions in 10 minutes. So there's not going to be a lot of extraneous nonsense.
We're just going to be talking over each other the whole time.
Quick hitting. No, what I think we should do is you just answer the question, the other person does it.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? And we'll
Okay.
just go back and forth.
But you have a tendency to like you.
No.
You see them,
No,
like,
no. I can.
They can't see you, but I can see you.
I will say nothing other than read the question. I promise.
What a bunch of shit.
And then, of course, closing time. We'll close it out. We'll start with the Yankees because they do push a game 5. It's
Over.
like the sort of jackassery that you are
Too
trying
easy.
to whammy the Yankees is hysterical. Look, a couple things. First, let me dispel can I dispel something for a second? The idea that if the Yankees had won Game 2, that the series would be over. That the 2 games after Game 2 would have gone exactly the same if Game 2 had gone to the Yankees and not to the Indians. First of all, if Terry Francona manages differently in New York, if under those circumstances, right? He might pull Bauer earlier last night than he did. You know what I mean? He might have done the same thing on Sunday.
I won't second guess Francona for starting Bauer last
No.
night.
I'm not second guessing him. I'm saying that he
I'm
manages.
sure there people are, though.
No, I'm saying if the Yankees win Game 2, he manages those games differently. So you don't know if you're in the same situation in those games,
That's
right?
fair. No, that's good
So
enough.
let's dispel that for a second. That game, if we won Game 2, the series wouldn't necessarily be over because you can't say that Game 3 and 4 would have gone the same way. Secondly, Joe Girardi screwed up. He said he screwed up. He screwed up. He should have reviewed it. If for no other reason, even if it did actually hit him, you just review it just to review it because it's the 6th inning and you got one left and the umpires get to review for the rest of the game, right? So if for nothing else, even if you, like, I'm even not talking about talking to the guy in the replay room. I'm saying, look at Sanchez's reaction and you just replay it off that.
That's the thing about Girardi, though, that kind of bothered me about the whole thing. Look, sometimes at that moment, you have to make a gut check decision. You got to say, okay, I'm going to challenge it. Whether you're right or wrong, sometimes you're the manager, so you can't. There are just times where you just can't wait for your video guy to tell you, okay, don't challenge it or challenge it. The fact is, sometimes Girardi just has to use his gut, and if he thinks that it's this, then do it. I think he probably felt Chisenhall got hit, and that's why he didn't really challenge. That's why he didn't really jump the gun to challenge it.
And if you notice, though, the weird thing is that, like, when a guy gets hit in the hand, there's a reaction.
Oh, no, I know that.
Chisenhall didn't do anything.
And
like,
that's
when a guy
where,
they're shaking their hand, they're jumping up and down, they're yelling.
And that's what I'm saying. Like,
Just
that
off of
alone,
that.
that alone should have been enough to flag it to where you'd like, well, maybe he didn't get hit. But, listen, sometimes at that moment,
Just make a mistake.
It's a bonehead decision by Girardi in many ways. And you know what's going to happen? Even though we know it's not going to happen tomorrow, but if the Yankees do lose,
it's all going to be game
it's all
2.
going to be thrown on Girardi for game 2.
Of course.
And everybody knows that.
Keep in mind, he's the reason, the way he managed the wild card game is the reason they won. Okay? Right? Would you agree with that? The way he managed the bullpen, getting Severino out in the first inning. A lot of managers wouldn't have done that. And a lot of managers would have gone right to a starting pitcher in that spot instead of to Chad Green.
Yeah, but my gut with that is, though, like, I understand, like, and of course he looks great for doing it because the bullpen saved Severino.
You look great.
But at the same time, I thought he managed a little scared there. I think he should at least let Severino try to get out of the first inning.
How? It's 3-0 already,
How
Craig.
many outs?
There was 1 out.
You got to let him try.
No,
I mean,
you don't.
Yes, you
do.
do.
You have to win that game.
Okay.
So you're going to let him give up another. There was 2 guys on.
I would.
It's second and third, 1 out.
I have to at least try,
Well, then
right?
your team would lose that game.
We don't know that.
Yes, you do. Craig, I watched the game. The kid had nothing. He had nothing. And Torrey and Girardi. So people wish it was Torrey. I don't, but people do. Girardi's knew that. That's not my point. The point is this: if the Yankees lose tomorrow night, Game 2 has nothing to do with it. Okay, Joe Girardi has managed 2 really good games in New York City. He kept Severino in the game last night when I think everybody thought he was going to pull him after the 6th and let him pitch the 7th, and he was great in the 7th.
Yeah, but don't worry about it. They're not going to lose tomorrow.
Stop. Just stop.
Man.
The thing you like is this team, and I'm not saying they're going to win tomorrow because I don't think they are. I think Kluber is going to come back. Here's the thing. Counting on Kluber to be that bad twice in a row is insane.
You have no confidence.
It's not confidence. It's watching baseball.
It's pathetic.
It's looking at baseball and going, this is a guy who pitched to like a 2.4 ERA all year, which means there weren't 2 games in a row where he pitched like he did in Game 2.
Should we make another bet then?
Go ahead.
I don't know.
Next show, we're gonna live Periscope Craig donating the $50
Now,
because
that is a bet I was very happy to lose.
yes, of course, absolutely. Now, as long as the Yankees won, I wouldn't have mind losing the bet. The beauty part did come in though that Aaron Judge did hit the home run in the bottom of the 4th, which made it 7-4.
Yeah,
and then they got out of it, and then they got the other run later. Thank you, Yankees, baby.
what an ass bag.
Winning the bet and winning the game.
Now, that being said, I don't mind losing that type of a bet. The people of Puerto Rico need it. Every little bit
Do
helps.
they? They got those paper towels, didn't they?
Well, the way Trump throws, I mean, yeah. I mean, the guy in the...
Yo, they should. The Giants should look into signing Trump as their quarterback if Eli gets hurt. I mean, that arm was spectacular.
And if he was throwing toilet paper rolls in an actual game, he'd be Fran Tarkenton.
And we know that he'll stand for the anthem, so there you go.
Ah, yes. While the rest of the team just sits.
Real quick on the Yankees tomorrow night, I like the talking about the pitching. I actually really like Girardi's decision to go with Sabathia and not with Gray. Keep Gray in the wings if you need him, and then you also have Gray to start.
Well, everybody's
game 1.
on deck tomorrow, so.
Right? But I also like the idea of having Sonny Gray in my back pocket, and that's the thing about the Yankees that nobody talks about, right? Because they have No other team pitched 4 guys.
No, I don't think
Well, no other team got to game 4, but you know what I'm saying. So, no, the Houston did. They pitched 4 different guys. But the Yankees actually have a deep starting rotation. They may not be great, you know what I mean? But all 4 starters are pretty comparable when it comes to how they get outs. So if I have to have Sonny Gray start game 1, if the Yankees are happening enough to win, I'm
outside
okay
of
with
the
that.
outside of Gray's rough outing in game 1, the starting pitching's been pretty solid. Tanaka was outstanding in game 3.
Tanaka was great,
Severino
yeah.
was great in game 4.
And CeCe, once CeCe got past where he got, I think it was, what's the second baseman? Crap.
Kipnis?
No, the kid Kipnis is playing center right now. The kid that was playing third last year, he's playing second now. Little switch hitter. It's like Martin. It doesn't matter. He got him to fly out with 2 guys on, which could have made it worse if he gets a hit there. So he got out of that, and then from then on was good to go. I like starting him because I think CeCe. I don't think the moment won't be too big for CeCe. I don't think, and so I think that's a good thing for them. As far as the other things go, look. You like what you saw? Judge got a hit yesterday for the first time. I would love to ask.
It was a big one.
It was great. It was a big one. We'll get to that in a second because we do have some Spanish calls, which are always delightful.
It's bad enough I got to hear Yankee calls, but I got to listen to them in Spanish.
Oh,
too.
they're even better in Spanish. But
do we have Rey Mysterio on the call this time?
No.
No.
It didn't actually say who the call was, so I have nobody to
probably
to
psychosis.
to give the props to. But you like that he got hit. We need to do something here, though. We need to either take the little stupid box off my television screen or make the strike zone electronic so that I don't have to watch my guys strike out on balls that are not strikes while stupid Brian O'Nora, who looks like he's got a little bit of a tick going on back there, freaking calling everything on the... I mean... Judge got called out on a strike that was like a foot out. It was It's ridiculous. It happened to both
won
teams.
The game.
No, but I'm talking about this is for everybody. This is not just for me. How could it not drive you nuts to watch a pitch that the stupid pitch track thing tells you is a ball when the jackass behind the home plate is like, strike 3, you're out in a huge spot. At least when we didn't have the box, we had like... You didn't really ultimately know, right? Like, you could say it looked like a foot outside, but you didn't ultimately know. It was just an argument you had. But now the stupid box is there for every pitch, and all I'm doing is going, not a strike. Or sometimes you get lucky, and he does call a pitch that's not a strike. But it's infuriating. And that's all I have to say about that.
So just a reminder, we are over 24 hours away from the Yankees winning tomorrow and getting to the ALCS.
Stop. Speaking of Yankees... we got a couple big hits for you that we're going to play. We're first going to play the Didi 3-run homer from the wild card game.
Is this Rey Mysterio Jr. on the call?
Yes. No, I don't know. First of all, MLB.
It's got to be like Pedro Morales or something.
MLB.com's Spanish website is atrocious. Okay, the videos don't work. Okay, they have no sound, and I know all these games are in Spanish, and they have nothing, and it's terrible, and they should do better. Because I love Spanish calls. So here it is. This is Didi home run.
No one does this. When they do calls, they do the English calls.
Yeah.
And granted, we're an English-speaking show.
I tell you, I don't know what the guy's saying.
But it doesn't matter. It's fantastic.
You also want to know the best part about the MLB Spanish website?
I haven't heard this yet, and I already know it's good.
Do you know what the best part about the MLB Spanish website?
What's that?
The video, the stupid ad you have to watch before you watch the highlight is in English.
Is it Sábado Gigante?
No, it's in English. Oh. It's about people going to a San Francisco Giant game. It's in
English,
though.
It's just the same channel, but it's just SAP, whatever they call it, right? Isn't that what they call it for Spanish?
No, everything's in Spanish.
Oh.
Everything. There's a whole different MLB Espanol
except for
site.
The ads at the bottom of the page.
No, except for the ads that play before the highlight, non-Spanish. Anyway, this is the Didi home run.
Listo. Payoff pitch. Papazo profundo por el derecho. Olvídala. Esta se va y se fue. ¡Échale sazón! ¡Eso es un jorrón! Gregorios. Y empata el juego a 3. ¡Oh, qué tablazo de Didi!
Spectacular.
Well, we got a little bit of Spanglish in there because apparently there's no translation for payoff pitch.
Yeah, I know. I thought the same thing. Well, let's be fair. All the guys who do this speak English. You know what I mean? Like they're at least bilingual. Most of them probably speak another language. But so yes, I did notice that when I listened. I'm like, wait,
payoff pitch.
Yeah, Spanish payoff pitch. Okay, now this is the Judge 2-run double from last night.
3-2 con 2 outs. Bauer, payoff pitch. Línea por el left field. A lo profundo esta bola. Cae de hit. El rebote. Anotan una. Anotan dos. Doble empujador del juez. Caso cerrado. Aaron Judge se empata con la curva de Bauer. Y los Yankees se extienden a 4-0.
And if you notice, when he says Aaron Judge, he says it like somebody without an accent would say. These guys are good. That's a great call right there. 2-run double sounded like a freaking 3-run homer. I love it. It's fantastic. Okay, so big game tomorrow night. Check it out. Yankees, I think it's 7 o'clock. I think it actually starts at 7:30, which is nice. And CC against Kluber.
It'll be over by 8:30 because they'll score
All
like 7 runs.
So what's the bet? Go.
I'm not. No.
No, big man now, right? I'm afraid to lose more money because the Yankees are going to kill me.
While I love Puerto Rico and I am half Puerto Rican, the fact is
that true?
Yes, it is. My mom was Puerto Rican.
Really?
Yes. My dad.
You did not get any of that.
My dad's Irish.
You got all of that.
All my dad.
I would never think I might be more Puerto Rican looking than you.
My mom is Puerto Rican.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, while I would love to give all my money to Puerto Rico,
sure,
I
of course.
just can't.
Oh, fair. You got 2 kids.
So for now, I don't know. I'm just gonna say the Yankees are winning it. So there you go. 24 hours away, Manny.
Yes.
Over 24 hours away.
Yes, indeed.
Before it's over for Cleveland.
Oh God, stop! Just stop. You want to do NFL next? Let's do playoffs. You want to do MLB playoffs?
Well, yeah, let's do a little playoffs.
Because
the Nats Cubs game is delayed due to weather right
Yeah.
now. That's the only game on the schedule because Boston got eliminated and the Arizona Diamondbacks got eliminated last night. So let's start with the Nats and Cubs. I mean, pretty much.
Well, that's the only other series, right? So.
Well, I mean, just kind of in general, look, the Red Sox for me, I won't say they mailed it in, but you could tell they stumbled into the playoffs, and it just looked like not to say they didn't have any fight, but it just looked like, I don't know, maybe they didn't care.
It's, you know what it is?
To me, it just seemed like lackadaisical baseball by them. And to be very honest, I blame Farrell for that.
Well, there's a rumor already floating that he's losing his job. And let's be fair, they wanted to keep Torey Lovello. They wanted Torey Lovello to be the manager of that team.
Right.
And
maybe he should have.
No, well, but the problem, look, and I'm going to say this, and everyone's going to say I'm a jerk for saying it, but then Farrell got cancer. And they didn't want to and I know this is terrible, but I don't think they wanted to keep Farrell. But you can't fire a guy who just went through cancer treatment, right? So they let Lovello go to the Diamondbacks, and he ends up being great out there for the Diamondbacks.
I know, but you can't blame the organization.
I'm not blaming them.
They would have got crucified.
No. Craig, I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying that it put them in a tough spot because I think they would have rather fired Farrell and kept Lovello, but it was a bad spot for them.
So my guess is they'll wait for the medical records to make sure he's good, and then they fire him.
Yeah. No, I think he's gone because that team underachieved. Let's be fair. People were picking that team to be really good. They won 90.
Here's the worst part. Sale was bad.
Well, he was bad for the last couple weeks, but that's Chris Sale, right? I mean, when you're 170 pounds and you throw 96, you're going to eventually run out of gas, right? I mean, it's just always the way it's going to be for him. So they need to be better at managing his innings and whatnot in the beginning of the year instead of letting him go 7-8 innings. You don't need him to do that anymore. For the first 2 months, he doesn't have to go any more than 6 innings. Why? It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So I would do that. The other thing they need is power. They have no power on that team. It takes them so long to get back into games that their pitching gives it up because they don't. Yes, they hit home runs because every team hits home runs, but they don't hit them enough. So they can't count on a bloop and a blast to get back into a game. You know, when they have the bases low, when they have a guy on first, they got to get 2 hits a lot of the time to get him over because they have a lot of good hitters, but they don't have a lot of good power hitters.
And on top of that, though, Price didn't have a great season for them. He was hurt for most of the season. Porcello was bad this year.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
Pomerantz actually had a
Pomerantz
pretty
was
solid
good.
season, and
Yep.
Sale was terrific all year until like pretty much the last few weeks of the season.
And their bullpen's good. I mean, Kimbrel came back and he was good. You know, he blew the save against the Yankees. But, I mean, that happens. You play a team 19 times,
Reed
you're
was
going to blow
actually-
saves.
Addison Reed was actually pretty strong.
He was good
after
for
they
them, and they'll
acquired
like
him.
having him next year. But again, look, they get no power from their outfield. I mean, I think you have your three starting outfielders, and I think you got less than 60 home runs from all three. You can't do that in the major leagues, especially when your first baseman's not a power hitter, or your catcher, or your second baseman. I mean, they're counting on Devers, who came up and whatnot, to do that, and they can't.
Well, knowing a guy like Dombrowski, he'll probably be pretty active in the market for.
But that's what Dombrowski does, though. Like, look at the Tigers.
No, he's always been the guy that goes after the big fish.
He
That's
loves
what he wants
the
to do.
big money guy, and then he leaves a team in a dumpster fire. He did it with the Marlins, and he did it with the Tigers. The Tigers are a wreck right now because they have tons of old guys who have like massive contracts left. I mean, forget about Cabrera because you can DH him. But there are other guys.
Like Victor Martinez.
Yeah, Victor Martinez.
Kinsler,
So
Anibal
they have
Sanchez,
years
guy.
left on their contracts, and they're terrible. They're just not good. So, I mean, look, the Red Sox are going to be good next year. They have good young players, right? They do. But the problem is they have the same player everywhere, okay? Benintendi, Betts, and Jackie Bradley seem like the same player to me. I mean, two of them are lefties and one's a righty, but you know what I'm saying. Small, fast guys who don't hit a ton of home runs.
But then again, as for the Astros, I mean, they were great. I mean, and the thing was, like,
they have good pitching and they hit.
Verlander actually had a strong game one, which I was actually surprised he got the start, unless maybe that's just how the rotation fell, because I figured Keuchel would have got it.
Keuchel's not been good. He's been injured most of the season, and he was not good coming off the injury. So,
even a guy like Morton was actually pretty strong. McCullers actually who pitched game 3? Was it McCullers?
Yeah.
Okay, so McCullers didn't pitch well in
No.
game 3. But overall, I mean, listen, Houston was, I felt, the better team going into that series with Springer and Altuve, Correa. Maybe not necessarily Keuchel not having a great season due to the injuries and just maybe some borderline ineffectiveness, but he's still a strong ace.
Sure.
For the, and the thing was, the Verlander acquisition turned out to be pretty strong for the Astros.
Yeah.
So overall, I mean, the Astros had a great series, and to me, but I think it was more. Well, I'm not saying that Houston, they dominated the first two games, and they got, then Boston kind of crushed them in game 3. It just seemed to me like Boston maybe like physically was there, but mentally they weren't. It just looked like they weren't really a cohesive unit as a team.
Well, and they were like that for most of the last part of the season, so you could see it coming. I think what happened I think the Chris Sale thing really started to affect them as a team, right? Because he was their guy, right? Game 1, like they were going to win because Chris Sale was pitching, and then he didn't pitch well. Now he wasn't awful, but he didn't pitch great. Mm-hmm. And look, the Red Sox have to look at this going forward. You can't have three or four lefties in your rotation. No. You can't, especially in Fenway Park. It's going to come back to hurt you.
Well, you've said that before in the past, especially after they signed Price.
Yeah.
Is that, when a lefty in Fenway doesn't do well.
Well, listen, if you're Chris Sale and you're going to pitch to a 2.3 ER, it doesn't matter what stadium you pitch in, right?
Yeah.
The problem, though, is that you're going to get you're going to get only righties hitting against you, and it doesn't take. In today's game with how strong and fast the guys are, you can miss a baseball in Fenway Park and still hit it for a home run.
Right.
And that can screw you up. So listen, the Astros take care of business real quick, just like the Dodgers did. I don't think the Dodgers. I think everybody was looking at their slump in like late August, September as this is them. They just turned it right back on. I mean, the Diamondbacks are a good team, and they swept them, and it wasn't. I think the first game was kind of close, and they were not blowouts, but they weren't close. You know what I mean? When you watch, they weren't close, those other two games. And I mean, the Dodgers are tough right now. I don't honestly see anybody in the National League beating the Dodgers.
One guy who played pretty well was Justin Turner. Justin Turner had a pretty solid postseason.
He did.
So far. Again, I mean, the guys.
Puig is giving them energy.
Mm-hmm. And what's it? Who's it? Hill? Who?
The pitcher, Rich Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're stacked in that rotation with Kershaw and Darvish and Hill. And Kershaw didn't pitch game 1, though. Did he?
Yeah.
Because I can't really remember for sure. But they are stacked in the rotation, and they're a good young team at the same time. Now, you have a couple of veterans like Adrian Gonzalez. Turner is still a veteran. But outside of that, I mean, with Jock Peterson and, even Puig having a strong series against the Diamondbacks. And just like you said, the Diamondbacks are a good young team.
Right.
Not only obviously with Greinke having a solid season, but a pitcher like Robbie Ray, who's been with their organization for a few years since they got him from the Tigers. And then he's been pitching great as well. So,
yeah.
I mean, overall, the Diamondbacks did what they could, but I just think, you're right in many ways. The Dodgers are the better overall team with the Diamondbacks, but tip your hat to Torey Lovullo because he did a great job in his first year when that team was kind of a mess last year.
He did, and listen, they're just going to be better, right? They still have Greinke for a couple years. He's still got a couple years left the way he throws. They got good young pitching. Robbie Ray was excellent for them this year. They have JD Martinez for a whole season next year.
And a lot of the young guys, AJ Pollock,
right?
Goldschmidt.
Yep.
Lamb is not a bad player.
I mean that they want.
I would just say, listen, now I'm not saying this was a reason why they lost, but I would say if the Diamondbacks really want to, one area they need to strengthen for next year, the bullpen.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need a closer. Fernando Rodley, I think he had like 31 saves this year or something like that. But
in a big spot.
He's too volatile as a closer, and especially in that division, where that division is only getting better.
Right.
Because what I think is the Dodgers are already an elite team. The Rockies definitely had a huge season under Bud Black in their first year. The Diamondbacks are make it to the wild card and then get to the next round of the NLDS. And then also don't count out the Giants just yet for next year, too, because granted it was a bad year for
they
them.
had injuries.
Yeah, Madison Bumgarner in that accident kind of killed them the whole first half of the season.
Now they need to ramp up, too. They need a better bullpen. They need some more power.
They may have to change their philosophy a little bit, like moving forward, because they've never been really big spenders. When they signed Samardzija and they signed Cueto, those were actually a little bit of surprises because that's kind of been their break from the norm. Samardzija really hasn't been that great. Cueto's been pretty solid since he's been in San Francisco. But I think that next year they are going to have to look and, try to get some better hitters. Pence is another year older, not exactly getting any better. Posey is still decent as a catcher.
He does, but they got to put him at first base. You can't, I get he's a great catcher, but he's going to be 29 or 30. And
but guys like Crawford,
you're going to lose his bat, and his bat's too important.
Guys like Brandon Crawford, guys like Joe Panic. These guys are good players, but they're not consistent enough, I think, to kind of carry this team when the other hitters aren't really hitting well at all. But listen, for your first year as the Diamondbacks, great season overall. You got to be proud of what they accomplished after last year was such a dumpster fire, especially with Dave Stewart taking so much crap for the trades he was making, hemorrhaging prospects to get guys like Shelby Miller who were terrible for them. So overall, listen, it was a good season. It was a good series, but the Dodgers, they just ran into a better team in the Dodgers.
And again, I don't know if the winner of the Cubs, Nats, now Cubs, Dodgers will be good because I think both teams are good, but I think the Dodgers are better.
Do you sense in Washington there's a bit of remember how we killed Matt Williams when he benched Jordan Zimmerman?
I was just going to bring that up.
And then Max Scherzer pitches a no-hitter.
1 out. He's pitching a one-hitter in the 9th. And you take him out of the game. Jordan Zimmerman, what are you doing? I looked at the screen. I'm like, is that Matt Williams?
But that's what I said. And I was like, you got to be kidding me, right?
Come on, guys.
Can this only happen in Washington?
Oh, it's unbelievable. Now, listen, I will say this. Scherzer had been dealing with a hamstring. He missed a couple starts because of it. He could have gone out. Dusty could have gone out to talk to him, and he could have been like, listen, I'm tightening up or whatever, and he could have taken him out for that. They would never say that because it makes, Dusty will take the heat for it. So, to me, that's the only reason it's acceptable to take him out there is that he doesn't feel comfortable pitching. Other than that, it's literally the dumbest thing you can do. Literally the dumbest thing you can do.
If you're going to I hear this a lot with managers. I hear this a lot with managers, and they basically say the same thing. They always say, well, we're going to go with the hot hand. Well, if Scherzer's only pitching a one-hitter, why would you take him out when he only needs 2 more outs to get through the game?
Right.
It just makes no sense. And now they're down 2-1. Game 4 is whenever they decide to play because it's still raining in Chicago. But again, it only seems to happen in Washington.
Yeah, it's
because
brutal.
Game 1 was pretty strong. Hendricks was great in that game, and so was Strasburg to an extent. Game 2 looked like kind of the same way. because Washington just really I thought they were struggling a little bit on offense, and then they just blew their doors off in the 8th inning with the 3-run homer by Zimmerman.
Right.
That hit like the flower pot, like right in left field, because it barely cleared the fence. Harper gets the tying home run. But then you get into decisions like this, man, and again, it just
makes you insane.
Dusty's
it makes you crazy.
Dusty will constantly get second guess for that.
But
he should be.
No. It's not second guess. It's first guess. Because when he walked out of the dugout, I was like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Now look, he could easily just say I'm sure there are plenty of people who agree with his decision. I mean,
I don't see how you could.
I mean, there's no way. I mean,
I don't see how you could.
So
I really don't. Look, the Nats are done. I think we can all agree on that. Their offense has been brutal, with the exception of 2 swings of the bat in Game 2.
Would you pitch Strasburg on short rest?
No.
Today? Not at all.
No, because he's too fragile.
You'd rather get to Game 5.
Not even that. It's not a...
Now remember, he's been hurt, so it wasn't like he pitched like a full season.
I know, but I mean, still, like you're talking. But that's my point, right? Is a guy who misses 3 months every year because he's fragile, and you want to pitch him on short rest where he's going to be heaving the ball up there, and then if you happen to get past that into the next round, you're going to pitch him again. That guy's going to need a whole new arm. So I wouldn't do it just because I'm afraid that he'll miss all of next season if I do.
Right.
And I can't have that. And I know it's insane to talk about that way, but it's just what I can't have.
So the Nats are down 2-1. Game 4, whenever they decide to play it. Game 5 of the ALDS is tomorrow, Yankees Indians. Even though we already know the outcome of that game, it's all good. So, Matty, you want to segue to NFL, or do you want to go quickly with the Jets and Giants?
Well, what I thought we would do is, because since polar bipolar has a little bit of everything in it, I thought we'd do polar bipolar real quick, and then we got about 15 minutes do we do closing time, and in that 15 minutes we could do Jets, Giants, and we got to talk about that Knicks post-game debacle.
And the Dolphins coach snorting coke.
Well, apparently in Miami, that's what everyone does, so we're good.
I'm not surprised.
Either am I.
It's probably the gross national product.
Oh, it's Dan Levitard said there's a building that is in the center of Miami. He's like, I think it's made of cocaine.
It probably is.
So there you go.
Just a quick reminder, This is the Polar Opposites podcast. Check us out as always at polaropposites.podbean.com, as well as iTunes, as well as Spreaker.com, where we are currently live.
Indeed.
And follow us on Twitter at polaropposites1. So you ready to do polar bipolar?
Always.
This is why I like putting you in charge of the music.
10 minutes.
We got 10 minutes, so 10 topics for 10 minutes. This is Polar Bipolar, and it's going to be just a random hodgepodge. So, Maddie, are you ready?
Ready.
All right, here we go. Here's the first one. Maddie, polar or bipolar? Giancarlo Stanton will not be a member of the 2018 Miami Marlins.
Polar is yes, right? He
Yes.
will. Yes, polar. Giancarlo Stanton will be a member of the Boston Red Sox.
Really?
Because the Reds... Think of how much the Red Sox could use Giancarlo Stanton in that lineup. You bat him fourth with Mookie Betts and all the other guys around him. They win that series against the stupid Houston Astros.
Who are you giving up?
Oh, it's King's ransom. Kings. You may have to give up one of the guys like Bradley, Betts, or Benintendi.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna have to give up one of those guys, no doubt.
And so I'm good with that. And if you're the what do you call it? If you're the Red Sox, you have to be good with that too. Number 2, Craig. The Dolphins should start Matt Moore instead of Jay Cutler moving forward.
Polar. Absolutely polar. The fact is that Jay Cutler, look, I understand he was signed late, but the fact is he's not working out. It's just not working out. They're not really moving the football. They're barely getting into the end zone. And granted, they won the game last week. Wasn't exactly a barn burner of a game, and one of those touchdowns was on defense. I think Matt Moore at this point is a better grasp of the offense, and I think that as much as, look, I didn't like the Cutler signing to begin with, but at the same time, I think that trying to light a spark at this point would be Matt Moore. I'd rather give it to him, but I think what's also killing the Dolphins is that Jay Ajayi isn't running the ball well at all.
True.
Number 3, Matty, polar or bipolar? The Browns are actually worse in 2017 than they were in 2016.
I'm going to say bipolar.
Really? All right.
Yeah, their record may be better than it was last year, but I think they're actually taking a step forward. I think they have some good young players. I think their defense is actually not brutal. I know they're giving up points, but there's only so much a defense can do when an offense isn't scoring. And I think you move forward when now I know they benched him, but hopefully they'll start him again this weekend. But when you have DeShone Kizer, you can just let him go and see what happens. Look, remember, the Colts went 2-14 with Peyton Manning his first year. It's sometimes you can be a good quarterback on a terrible team and not win games. So I think they're actually getting better, even though their record doesn't say that.
Question real quickly.
Yeah.
How about the Browns? When is it time to consider Hugh Jackson on the hot seat?
Not like 3 years.
3 years?
He's only been there. This is what, second or third year?
The second year, but he's 1 and
I gotta
20.
I gotta give you 5 years. I have to.
5 years?
In that situation, I have to give you 4 to 5 years. I have to. Number 4, John Farrow should be the fall guy for the Red Sox disappointing playoff run.
Is this press your luck?
It is.
Absolutely polar. The thing is, it's one thing when a manager runs a loose clubhouse and, he's not really a drill sergeant and doesn't need to be. But Farrell, to me, it just seems like it's too loose. The fact that things are kind of going unnoticed, the whole thing with the Apple Watch, for example, he says he didn't know anything about it. We don't really know for certain, but if the fact that it's going on under his watch is bad enough. Okay, and the fact is also is that the players, to me, just the way they just kind of stumbled into the playoffs, they're lucky to win that game the Saturday before the end of the season to win the AL East, because the Yankees would have probably won the East had that Boston just lost out the season and got to the playoffs. The fact is that you got to have a change somewhere, and you're not going to dump Betts or Bradley or Pedroia or Benintendi. I think Farrell should definitely be the fall guy. I say Polar. Matty, number 5, polar or bipolar. We were wrong about Leonard Fournette's claim the NFL is easy.
No, we're not wrong. It's not easy, and he can say that it is. But if it's so easy, then break Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record. Break Emmitt Smith's. When you're done with your career, you better have more rushing yards than Emmitt Smith. If it's so easy, do this. Do all of it. Make your team better. If it's so easy for you, why is your team not 5-0?
Yeah.
Right? If it's so easy, Leonard Fournette, now I get that you're scoring against porous defenses and whatnot. But trust me when I tell you, in weeks 14, 15, 16, when you're playing against teams that are trying to get to the playoffs and you're just a freaking stupid stepping stone on them, yeah, it's a $100,000 pyramid. It's okay. Then you're going to enjoy getting beat down, okay? Yeah, he's making it look easy on plays, but he's not averaging 10 yards a carry and scoring 5 touchdowns a game. That's easy.
Yeah.
That's easy. Suck it. Number 6, Ben Roethlisberger has mentally checked out this season.
I'm going to say bipolar, barely. Because to be very honest, he's been bad. He's been bad all year. I mean, the thing is, the Steelers haven't really been that competitive, and they were flat out awful at home on Sunday against the Jaguars. I mean, 5 interceptions. The thing is, we've always kind of contemplated when he's going to call it a career because he's been taking so many hits over the years that eventually it's just all going to catch up to him. But this is one of the first times that I can honestly say that Ben Roethlisberger just looks like he just doesn't want to be there, or just like he doesn't look like he's 100% focused on playing football. And the thing right now with the Steelers is with Le'Veon Bell coming back late and kind of still working his way back in because he didn't practice with the team until literally the week before the season started. They needed him now more than ever to kind of pick up the slack, and he's not doing it. And like I said, it just looks like he's just not there mentally. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has mentally checked out. Matty, number 7, polar or bipolar. The Giants should draft Sam Darnold if available in the 2018 draft.
That is bipolar. I don't think Eli is playing badly. I don't think Eli's been the reason the Giants are 0-5 this year. So what I would do is take that first, second, or third pick and do 2 things. Either draft the best, biggest, freaking strongest, meanest left tackle you can, or trade that down, trade back a couple picks,
which Jerry Reese never does,
and maybe get the second best left tackle you can get, and get other picks to where you can get other offensive linemen in this draft.
But Jerry Reese never does that.
He's
never going to do that.
No, he's never going to do that. But that's what they should do. Because I think Eli has a couple more years. And with this defense, you can win right now. The biggest problem is that they don't have a left tackle. And I know it sounds ludicrous when you say they're 0-5. But you're talking about the cumulative effect of the offense being bad for now almost 2 years is that the defense is now injured and getting run over because they're just freaking exhausted from having to be on the field all the time.
And they're going to be on the field a lot more with 3 receivers getting hurt in Sunday's game.
Flat, brutal. Let's see, number 8. Sorry, the next Mets manager should not be either Kevin Long or Alex Cora.
I say bipolar. I really like Alex Cora, and I hope he does take the job. I wouldn't mind Kevin Long. I'm not saying Kevin Long wouldn't be. He has no managerial experience, so somebody's got to give him his job somewhere. What is this, the Running Man?
The greatest game show ever.
Oh my god, I'm just totally lost. I'll take Alex Cora over more because I think he's a solid bench coach for the Astros, and I want somebody from a winning pedigree right now in Houston, and that's exactly what they're doing, and he is playing a role in that in some way, shape, or form. There's actually talk that another guy that's throwing his name in the half of the job is Brad Ausmus. But I would rather have Alex Cora out of either one of those guys. I think he'll be the better manager.
I agree.
Matty, number 9, polar or bipolar. No matter how many ways you change the format, the NBA All-Star Game is still not worth watching.
It's not worth watching because I'd rather see more skills competitions. I'd rather see him play horse, or you know what I mean? Like, if you're not going to play defense, what's the point? If you're going to have a game that literally was like 175 to 162, what the hell is the point? It literally makes no sense. I would rather have guys just make it as a posthumous thing, and you don't have to play a game and risk hurting yourself.
Right.
So, no, but let me be fair. There's no way to do this. The only game that is good, even remotely, is baseball because it's just easier to play. But you still have to worry about pitchers and crap like that. So, again, I would rather just my team have 4 days off.
Right.
Same with the NBA. So, they can do what they want. I still won't watch. I'd rather watch the three-point contest, a game of horse, dunk contest. I'd rather watch crap like that than all that nonsense. Number 10, the Sixers were wise to give Joel Embiid a max contract extension before the start of this season.
I'm going to say bipolar, mainly because, to be honest, he's only played, like 30 games?
Yeah.
I think so far since he's had 2 foot injuries, which already labels him as injury-prone as far as I'm concerned.
And big guys with foot injuries.
Once it starts, it doesn't stop. Talk to Sean Bradley, talk to Yao Ming. The list goes on and on. Giving the guy $148 million on a 5-year deal for 30 games is a major risk, but I think the Sixers just realized maybe they had to take it because basically he may not come back after this year. Like, if he plays well, he's probably not going to consider Philadelphia, or he's not going to want to go to Philadelphia. So I guess in that sense they had no choice, but man, that's a huge roll of the dice for a center with foot problems at this early in his basketball career.
I agree.
And we got 50 seconds to spare. We made it.
So I get to do this. Sub-Zero.
Fireball.
Fireball.
Buzzsaw.
Buzzsaw. These guys were heroes. What a great movie. If you've never seen The Running Man, go watch it. It is Arnold at his absolute terriblest.
No,
but it is.
It's at his finest.
Yeah, but I mean, it's his finest terriblest.
On. The scene when he lights the flare in front of Fireball and goes, "How about a light?" That's the best scene ever.
Where's Sub-Zero? Oh, he had to split. You can't make it up.
Or clap if you love Dynamo.
Oh, come on. And then he comes out and he's like, friggin' stupid opera
He was
singer.
like the worst out of all the stalkers.
Well, of course. Of course he was.
But how awesome
was... He's a big fat guy with light-up underwear.
How awesome is the casting of Richard Dawson as Killian?
One of the best performances by a person who wasn't an actor, because he was actually acting.
Yeah.
Like, unless he's just a douche in real life, and he wasn't. Like, he was actually a really horrible guy in that movie.
Hi, Cutie Pie. You know, one of us is in deep trouble.
Oh, so good. Go watch it. Enjoy it.
Now, before we'll talk about the Giants and Jets in a minute. So we'll have 1 minute just to comment on the infamous video of the Dolphins offensive line coach snorting coke.
Look, it's the year 2017, okay? We all have handheld computers at all times and can see everything that is happening. We can record everything. We can capture it with pictures. And if you watch baseball games, people don't like to watch things with their eyes anymore. They would rather watch it through the phone on their screen instead of watching it live so that they can watch it again through their phone on their screen for years to come.
Right.
I prefer to watch it live, and then there are TV cameras everywhere that record the hit. So I don't need a video on my phone of it. I'd rather watch it live. But we have that society, right? And we have people who are always trying to find either their 15 minutes or they think their machismo's huge, whatever. This idiot just cost himself a job in the NFL probably for the rest of his life. Unless he goes to rehab and proves to everybody that he's not hooked on coke anymore. But this guy in the Dolphins facility was I think he was showing a woman. I think that's what it was. And he's snorting coke. And he's like, oh, what if I go to meetings? Like, dude, what are you doing?
My brother sent me probably one of the funniest emails this morning at work with the new Dolphins logos. And the first one has the dolphin mascot with the helmet, and he's got coke on his nose. It's like, and I think he's snorting a line off his fin.
You know, but I mean, again, but then when you talk to anybody from Miami, they say the same thing. It's not that big a deal. Everyone's on coke here. And so fine, if that's how it is, that's how it is. But he's still got to get fired from his NFL job.
The thing is, he must have been paranoid as hell, man, during games when they fumble punts.
But
or
like, think about that. Think about that
penalties.
offensive line. You got one guy wearing a gas mask while he's smoking weed, and you got the other guy doing lines of coke.
Can you imagine him on the sideline if, God forbid, one of his guys goes offsides?
Hey.
Just sniffling the whole
Just whole like sucking in the snot because it's brutal.
his bleeding nose is bleeding nose on the side.
Speaking of open mics and
This is fantastic, by the way.
and we'll get to the Jets and Giants because there's not too much to do because I mean look, Jets are 3-2. The Giants are 0-5. We'll get to the Giant debacle in a second. We'll talk about the Jets, more about what's coming up this weekend.
So basically, for everybody who doesn't really know the story, it was during, I think it was a Knicks commercial break or
Yeah.
something like that.
They were doing the pregame or postgame, and it was a postgame.
One of them was Wally Serbiak. The other guy, I don't know who it was,
It's,
but basically
Alan Hahn.
Alan Hahn. Okay.
Yeah.
He was the mic was left on by accident, which I'm going to take a guess and say maybe not because he probably heard him talk about something. And this is basically the two of them ripping Kristaps Porzingis.
Well, the other thing you can do is just kill Porzingis from being minus 20 in 16 minutes.
Yeah, I got that's
Dude, come on, man. I mean, you're a star. I mean, this is what you're doing? You're just out there?
minus 20 is for him. He should never let his team.
Wow.
They're not, but
They're not wrong.
But here's the thing for me, Craig, and you know that I hate pre and post game shows, and I rarely watch them. I watch them during postseason games mostly because I just want to hear from the managers. Like the managers are the only people I want to hear because they actually give answers, right? The players, if you listen to players, like watch a Yankee player give an interview. It is an absolute amazing thing. There must be an internal video at Yankee Stadium where people are shown Derek Jeter interviews, and it's just beaten into them that you say stuff without ever saying anything. If pre and post game shows talked like this for the teams, I might watch them. Why aren't you saying that on air? Now maybe say it a little nicer, like you want to kill him, but like why aren't they saying that on air? Kristaps Porzingis, when he is on the court, can't be minus 20. If you're going to build around this guy, he can't be minus 20. I get it's a preseason game. But again, he's hurt. He's got back. He's got ankle, heel, whatever the hell's wrong with him. He's hurt again. He's not playing games because he's hurt. All right? Michael Beasley frickin' fell face first into the damn court yesterday, basically. Got up and just kept playing.
Yeah.
Like, at a certain point, Kristaps, you have to play through pain. That's what playing sports is.
Listen,
But them killing him, I don't blame them for that. I mean, just do it more ballsy and do it on air.
whether Knick fans want to admit it or not, the fact is that Kristaps Porzingis has a ton of pressure on his shoulders this year because he is now the face of the franchise.
Oh.
After getting rid of Melo, he's the guy. Now, I don't know if a guy like him will be ready to handle that right away. It might take some time.
Or ever.
Okay? But the thing is, Kristaps Porzingis, I'm not saying he wanted this. I don't necessarily think he wanted to be the guy.
Right.
I think he wanted to have a good supporting cast around him while he was developing and becoming a better player every year. But that's over now. And the fact is that he is now going to be expected to carry this team. Now, we don't think the Knicks are going to be that great of a team next year, but at the same time, he is going to be expected to carry the load. He is going to be expected to be the leader of this team.
Right.
Okay?
Right. I agree.
Can he handle that? That remains to be seen. And that's going to be a lot on the shoulders of, what is he, 23 maybe, 24?
23.
23, of a 23-year-old kid, because that's what he is
Yeah.
at the end of the day. Okay? And I've heard all the comparisons to Nowitzki and everything, and I think he's an okay player. He has not impressed me that much yet. But
He hasn't played.
But the thing is, right now, now he's going to have to play a lot. And now the burden is going to be on him. It's not going to be on Willie Hernan-Gomez anymore. It's not going to be on
Ntilikina.
or Ntilikina or Joakim Noah or whoever.
No, it's
gonna
on him.
be
He's the guy. He's the guy. And look, the Knicks are screwed, right? Like the Knicks are screwed. They let Pat Riley. Oh, if only. They let Phil Jackson make the draft pick, and then they fired him, which makes no sense. And to me, I think the Knicks don't choose Frank Ntilikina. Now, they can talk because they have to, right? The Knicks have to come out and be like, oh, no, it was a total thing up and down. Oh, everybody loved Frank. Come on, guys. Come on.
He was drafted
Stop.
specifically for the triangle.
Yes.
Everybody knows that.
Now, look, can he play other offenses? Of course he can. The guy's been playing off in professional leagues in France for a couple years. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. The Knicks are going to be awful this season. The Knicks are going to be better than the Nets this season, probably, when it comes to record-wise.
The Nets are going to be better than the Knicks.
That's what I meant to say, yes. Strike that, reverse it, to quote Willy Wonka. The Nets are going to be better than the Knicks. And it's because they're a better-run organization. because they have a plan. And you can see it. And you could see that it's going to take a couple years, right? Like, as a Net fan, like, you at least know that they have a plan. If they stick to it, you think that they'll be good. You've also seen them get incrementally better without great players. So the coach is pretty good as well, right? Because when you don't have great players and you still win games, that's on the coach.
Mm-hmm. So
you have a good coach. The Knicks are screwed.
Yeah.
Because unless they get the first pick this year, well, let's be fair. Now, of course, the Knicks are going to have the worst record in the league, and it's the stupid thing where, now everybody, the first three teams have the same percentage. Like, you can't make it up, right? The Knicks for years have been floundering at like 25, 30 wins, where they're getting like the 6th, 7th, 8th pick, and now the first time they have a chance at getting the first pick, they're going to have a 14% chance, the same as everybody else. The Knicks are screwed. Let's talk about the Giants real quick, and then we'll get to the Jets. We'll do longer on the Jets, because I only have to say one thing about the Giants.
All right, so go ahead.
I've been watching football for probably about 34 years, maybe. I've never seen anything like what happened to the Giants on Sunday. And I don't mean them losing.
That was disturbing.
I don't mean them losing.
No, it's just...
I'm talking about the utter carnage of the wide receiver. I've never seen that in my life.
See, the thing about the Giants was that the fact that they were 0-4 before the final
right.
of that game was one thing, right? So that was bad enough.
Right.
But now things just kind of happen to them that they're very Mets-like.
Oh,
okay?
the Met and Giants season have mirrored each other so much.
It's very Mets-like.
And the Jets and Yankees have mirrored each other to a certain extent.
It hasn't gotten to the point where like Brandon Marshall pulled a Conforto and like swung and missed and tore his
No,
capsule,
Craig, they lost 3 wide receivers in one game to season-ending surgeries.
And 2 in the same series.
Yeah.
Because Shepard and Marshall went out in the same series.
Brutal.
I mean, like, listen,
Brutal.
that's something I don't...
That's next level crap.
Honestly... I feel bad. Like, I do feel bad for the Giants in a way because it's very rare you see that happen in a football game.
I mean, you see injuries all the time, but I've never seen it. Like, they were playing like, because at the end of the game, they had Roger Lewis, who's the only guy who was listed as a wide receiver. Eli was saying to, like, Evan Ingram, you're going to stand out there and you're going to run this pattern. Like, they had no idea.
Choice.
Because why would you ever plan for that?
Yeah.
I know, guys. Let's create an offense for every wide receiver gets killed in one game. I mean, who does that?
It was a freak set
brutal.
of circumstances, basically. And unfortunately, the Giants paid the price. Now, that's why all the talk, especially from your boy Manish, about Sam Darnold, about the Giants drafting Sam Darnold, and, wouldn't that be very Jet-like if Sam Darnold wound up with the Giants? Here's the thing that I don't really understand is, you said it before, Eli is not the problem.
It is not him.
He's not the problem.
He threw a couple deep balls the other day that were gorgeous. He threw one to Roger Lewis for a touchdown that was beautiful.
And why would you draft Sam Darnold when you know damn well that your main problem is the offensive line?
And Sam Darnold's not Mike Vick. I mean, I know he's more mobile than Eli, but of course I'm
idea
more
what
mobile
Sam
than
Darnold
Eli.
Going to be. And then on top of that, though, what I will say is I thought, and this just kind of added to it, Orleans Darkwa was running the ball well, and he gets hurt in the same game. Like
a couple, I will say, Wayne Gallman has been good.
Yes, he has.
He's been good. Bright spot. I know there are few and far between, but here's what I would do if I was the Giants. If you get, say, the first or second pick, and there's that. Now, I don't know enough about this, and that they haven't started doing this yet, but the draft stuff, like, I don't know enough about all the offensive linemen to tell you. But if there's a guy, right, that everyone's like a Joe Thomas or somebody like that, and you get the first or second pick, you have to take that guy. You have to. Because if he can be, like, look at Tyron Smith for the Cowboys. He's been there for like 6-7 years, and they haven't had to worry about it for a long time. If you can do that and you can solidify this offensive line, getting Beckham back next year, and here's the thing, you're going to see about these kid wide receivers. They're going to have plenty of time to show you what they can do. So you might have a couple of diamonds in the rough here. You don't know. There might be a Victor Cruz in here.
Now, here's my question. Does McAdoo get a pass now for the rest of the year?
I would get rid of everybody. Soup to nuts, I would get rid of everybody.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that.
And here's why. I don't blame McAdoo per se, but to me, McAdoo has been too stubborn with the offensive line.
He looks like...
And I think that he's doing it out of spite to Reese for not addressing the offensive line. And so, like, any other coach, there's not a coach in the world who would have kept running Eric Flowers out in left tackle. That just wouldn't. Why would you? with a quarterback who might be a Hall of Fame quarterback there who's getting killed. They could have tried Chad Wheeler, the kid who was a USC undrafted free agent. Hell, they could have put DJ Fluker over there. Like, try something. But they didn't try anything. They tried moving Pugh to right tackle. Thanks. That does a whole lot.
So the Giants go to 0-5. They play Denver on Sunday Night Football. The game will not be flexed out.
Did you see the point spread?
Not yet.
It's 12.5. I think, and I think that's low. How are the Giants going to score points, man? How are they going to score points against that defense?
Denver doesn't score a lot of points.
But no, Craig. Like, that defensive front, that even against the best offensive lines, they destroyed the Dallas offensive line. The Giant offensive line couldn't wipe the sweat.
And that's a Sunday night game, too. Wow.
It's going to be a friggin' massacre.
So Sunday night, if you don't want to watch a Giant game, Family Guy is all new.
Indeed. Real quick on the Jets, I'll let you do most of the talking because they've been good. It's funny, though, because we were talking about this today, listened to Evan Joe, and they were like, nobody said the Jets were going to be 3-2. Actually, a lot of people said the Jets could be 3-2 because the beginning of their schedule wasn't hard. It's the end of their schedule that's hard.
You know what guy I'm a big fan of on SNY is that Sal Licata. And here's why I like Sal Licata, because he just speaks like he's very real.
Yeah.
You know, the problem with media in general is they never want to be wrong. They just always want to be right, and they never want to take a chance and say, this team could be good, they may not be or whatever.
Right.
I said from the get-go, as long as the Jets were competitive, that's all I cared about. I didn't want to see them get blown out week to week, like 31-0 or whatever. Okay? And then you got people like, Sal Licata has said over and over again on these stations that he thinks the Jets are a 5-win team or a 6-win team. He thinks they could be good enough for a 5-win team. And they've already won 3 of those games.
Right.
Okay? Now, granted, was it easy? No. But what a lot of people don't understand about the Jets, too, is they're just like Cleveland. They're rebuilding, too. Mm-hmm. And granted, they added some veterans like Jermaine Kearse, Jeremy Curley, and Coney Yealy, like right before the season started. But they needed those guys because I think what happened was they realized that the guys that they want are just not ready right now. They're not ready to contribute, or they're not ready to be major contributors to the team. So when you see a game like 17-14, with the Jets and the Browns, and you see the way the Jets kind of came out, they couldn't run the football, they couldn't pass, they had terrible offense all day and all that stuff. The fact is like, yeah, you think that they may lose the game, and then they finally wake up in the second half. Josh McCown is a much better second half than, the first half. Catanzaro ends the half with a 57-yard field goal. I thought that was a really great job by Bowles to not just down it and go into the half down 0-0. But at the end of the day, the Jets are just like the Browns and the 49ers. They're all trying to rebuild their rosters right now. Just right now, it looks like they're buying in a little bit sooner than the other teams. And they are playing hard for Todd Bowles. So in that sense, look, it's a good win. I'm happy they won. They're 3-2. But I don't get ahead of myself because they still have a lot of tough games the rest of the season. You still got to play the Chiefs. You got to play the Pats twice. Uh-huh. You got to play the Falcons. You got to play Carolina. You got to play a lot of tough teams. You still got to play the Dolphins. And I don't care if the Dolphins are having a bad season. There's still a tough out. And you still got to play Buffalo.
The thing I would say is this, and you never turn down wins, right? If you're a fan, you just never do. But
no.
the thing for the Jets is if they finish, say, 8-8, 7-9, something like that, and they end up, say, with like the 15th to 20th pick somewhere in there, okay? I don't know if that helps them going forward. I don't know if that helps with a rebuild. I understand it does because you got your young players to see. But unless they plan on going out and throwing money at one of these free agent quarterbacks, then, oh, man.
Game 4 has officially been postponed between the Cubs and Nationals.
You think that's better for the Cubs or Nationals? I think it's better for the Nationals. It changes the momentum. It gives you a day, right? You get your bullpen ready.
Well, the bullpen hasn't really been worked too hard because the pitchers have been going deep into the game.
It has, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it gives you you could change. I
think it's good for both. I think you can now mess with it a little bit more.
You could even change starting pitchers if you want.
You could change starting pitchers if you want. Although I think Arrieta should just stay as a starter for tomorrow. Just gets an extra day. You could pitch Hendricks if you need to pitch him in that game, especially if you want to win it. And then you'll probably have Lester or Hendricks for Game 5. So I think overall, I think it's good for both teams. I don't necessarily think it's better for one or the other.
Real quick, back to the Jets, and then we're going to do closing time. Would you be okay if the whole plan was we go for it this year, and if we get a high draft pick, maybe we take a quarterback. If not, we have the pieces in place. I mean, to just go and get Washington or any other free agent quarterbacks that might exist.
It's a double-edged sword for me, and mainly because while I do want to see the Jets win, I'm not going to lie, I wouldn't mind having the high draft pick too. But I don't want to see them just lose out because then it just kills my interest in football altogether.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for me the rest of the year.
Do you see what I mean? It's
the only thing
you
is,
want, like a lot
it
of
almost
these
makes it easier sometimes, though. And I know that sounds crazy to watch other games.
But like a lot of these, but the thing is, like a lot of these dopey Jet fans and Jets fans, I love you, but sometimes I think that it's like your head's not in the right place because, in my opinion, it's like, why would you want to see a team go 0-16 just because you want to get the number 1 overall pick? Okay, like.
But they understand. But here's the thing, and it's a double-edged sword on that side too, because you understand that in the NFL now, you don't win unless you have a good quarterback.
See, but if that's the case, then I would rather see if I can get a guy like Cousins.
Okay,
but the thing is also we don't really know who's going to be picking at the top.
Absolutely.
Think about it like this: are the Browns going to draft a quarterback? Well, then again, it's Cleveland, so they might because they might just say after
Niners
12
are?
games. But the Niners have been linked to Cousins for a while, so they
have
go
been.
after
But
Cousins.
maybe they get the second pick, and they're like, "Oh, there's Sam Darnold. He goes right here, and we'll have to worry about it."
Fair enough. So that's one more team. Then, see, to be honest, if the Jets were that good next year and they needed a quarterback, I would probably try to go all in on Cousins if I know I have no chance at Darnold or Rosen.
That's cool. You can do that.
And the thing is, there's actually going to be good quarterbacks also with Mason Rudolph, Lamar Jackson from Louisville. There's going to be some strong quarterbacks, but the thing is, we don't even know if Darnold is that can't miss.
No, I'm not talking about Darnold specifically. I'm talking about the 3 guys everyone talks about: Rosen, Darnold,
because
and
I could see
the other
Darnold
kid.
getting drafted high and then Rosen falling. Kind of like the way Aaron Rodgers fell, or like a guy like Brady Quinn, like
because
when he
Rosen likes to talk, and so people could call him a problem or an issue. You know what I mean? Because he has opinions, and they don't like when you have opinions.
So for the Jets, basically, it's a big game against the Patriots.
Big.
I mean, listen, they're not in the same league as the Patriots, so let's just get that out of the way right now.
But if you get the Patriot D from the first couple weeks, you could win that game.
And now on top of that, I just read that Tom Brady missed practice with a shoulder injury.
Yeah, that doesn't.
He'll probably play regardless. I don't think he's missing that game anyway.
No.
But again, I mean, the Jets just have to keep playing the way they're playing. They're playing faster on defense. I thought Claiborne had a great game on Sunday. I thought their defense was definitely it gave up a lot of yards, which bothers me. But at the same time, when they needed to make the plays, they made the plays, and that's it.
Can I give you? And then we're going to hit closing time.
Go
Can
ahead.
I give you a player to watch?
In Sunday's game,
Yeah.
Who?
Coney Ely.
I hope he plays because he missed Sunday's game with the injury, but I think he'll be back.
I thought it was. Didn't he have a family?
That was 2 weeks
That
ago.
was 2 weeks ago. Okay.
He had a shoulder injury that he got in the Jaguar game. But the thing is also,
I just want to see him. He gets cut. Veteran guy. You get traded for. You get cut. You get to go back up there. You go and
But here's the thing. Honestly, at this point, I'll just end it with this. I need to see Wilkerson and Williams sacking the quarterback.
Yeah.
Man. They're just not getting any pressure whatsoever.
Up the middle pressure.
All right, here we go. Oh, to touch on your Joe Beningo thing, now he's all on the Todd Bowles bandwagon.
Loves him.
All of a
Greatest
sudden,
coach in the history of the world.
All of a sudden, he's giddy that they're winning games. He's not ripping them for being a terrible team. I mean, what do you call a fan like that, Matty?
Fairweather bandwagon.
Thank you.
There you go.
I don't care if you've been a fan for that long, but no.
Yeah, no.
Here we go. Closing time, 6 topics, and all opinions vary. Legal matter, blah, blah, blah. Matty, are you ready? Matty, I'm taking you back to the end of the regular season in baseball.
Let's do it.
For number 1.
Sure.
Here it is. It's the San Francisco Giants that closed out their 2017 season with a win over the Padres thanks to a Pablo Sandoval walk-off homer. While the win was a nice way to end the season, it ultimately cost them the number 1 overall pick in the 2018 MLB draft, as that now goes to the Tigers, who lost their season finale to the Twins. A Tigers loss coupled with a Giants win gave Detroit that top pick. Sandoval's walk-off homer raised his average to .220 since finishing his season with the Giants. Matty, was it worth it to win the last game of the regular season if it cost you the number 1 overall pick?
I mean, if you're telling me the difference between the first and second pick is that huge, then I don't know enough about baseball. You know what I mean? Like, it can't be that big for me. It just can't. So, I think... Sorry, Humanoids. I have to play it every week.
I constantly think about the terminally bewildered clip.
Oh, it's the mentally the hospital for the a mental hospital for the terminally bewildered is one of the best lines ever in the history of the world. Look, I mean, I guess you could parse and you could do all sorts of things with this, but no, it's totally worth it win. You want to end the season on a good note. You're a good baseball team, right? People were picking the Giants to go to the playoffs this year. You're a good baseball team, and you lost 90-something games. The only thing this can do is make you get better quicker, but I think when you're the Giants, you're always trying to win.
I agree. I mean, I think, to be honest, the difference, I don't believe, is night and day for the first or second pick. It's going to, whatever it is, the kid's going to take at least 3 or 4 years to develop before he finally comes to the league, and there's no guarantee he's going to be that good. So you always want to you always want to end the season on a high note. So I have no problem with it winning, and the fact that Panda hit the home run to hit it to win it. But the fact is, you just never know what you're going to get in the draft because it's not like NFL or NBA.
Right.
So in that sense, no, I don't think it really means anything, and I'd be just as fine winning that game.
I agree. Number 2, Fox Sports 1 will remove ads about the Knicks that appeared on NYC subway cars that basically bash the team and poking fun at Knicks fans. On the outside of one subway car had a picture of Tim Hardaway Jr. and Joakim Noah that said, "Hopeless." And inside the subway on some of the seats had captions that read, quote, "Nothing will change until Dolan sells the team," and, quote, "The high point of the last 25 years was the movie Eddie," referring to the Whoopi Goldberg movie where she takes over as coach of the Knicks, which that is an awful movie, so that makes it even worse. Craig, should the Knicks use this as motivation to prove to everyone they're a better team than people think?
I mean, I don't think they have to win as many games to be better than the movie Eddie, right?
But when you're terrible, it doesn't matter.
That's the best thing ever.
No, it's good.
I would use it as motivation because, I mean, at this point, what does it matter? The thing is, everybody knows you're going to be a bad team. If you feel you're going to be a good team, then prove it to everybody. And don't let ads kind of tell you differently. But that being said, this is probably one of the best stories I've ever. This is one of my favorite stories of the year so far.
Yeah, I will say this, and then
the high point of the last 25 years was the movie Eddie. Is something I would want to put on like an ad somewhere. For Nick.
Hey, Fox Sports 1, let me give you a little piece of advice. Maybe spend less time on things like this and more time not making your MLB pre and post game show a giant foobarred cluster F.
Or perhaps we could have more programming than Ultimate Fighting Knockouts and Ultimate Fighter 85.
So maybe if you spend a little more money on actually getting sports on Fox Sports 1 that people want to watch, then people might actually watch it, and you don't have to get in the news by bashing a team that hasn't been good for so long. You're basically bashing like the Indians right now. You're basically bashing teams that never win. That's what you're doing. I will say this, and then we'll get to the next one, but there was a sign last night at Yankee Stadium. Did you see this?
No.
A guy held up a sign that said, "On Columbus Day, Indians 0, Yankees 2." Referring to, the Yankees winning yesterday, and then, of course, all the American Indians dying because Christopher Columbus showed up.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh,
wait, no, that's me. Number 3.
Come on, get it together.
And one of his first moves as a new owner of the Miami Marlins, Derek Jeter fired Jeff Conine, Andre Dawson, Jack McKeon, and Tony Perez, 4 franchise icons in the minds of the very few fans the Marlins actually have. Jeter received some really bad publicity, not only because he fired all 4, but that he didn't actually fire them himself. That task was left to soon-to-be ex-team president David Sampson. Now Jeter has reportedly reached out to Conine, Dawson, and McKeon to make amends and offer them the opportunity to return to the organization. No word yet on what their roles would be, and all 4 men have not commented on the situation. Is Derek Jeter already off to a bad start as owner of the Miami Marlins?
No, I don't really care, to be honest with you, because look, what have these guys done? The Miami Marlins aren't good. They haven't been good for a long time. Cut bait. Get rid of all these guys. They're holding on to teams that don't exist anymore, right? By having all these guys there, McKee and Conine. I mean, all the guys you name, it's incredible. I mean, what are you paying these guys for? To just sit there and be Mr. Marlin?
Well, that's the thing. That's what I always wondered about these like special assistant jobs.
Yeah.
Do I really think a guy like, for example, if somebody let's say Conine is a special assistant to the president. What the hell is he doing? Is he typing memos? Is he like getting coffee?
Yo, this guy's really good at baseball.
Is he just sitting in the corner reliving his days as a member of the Florida Marlins?
I don't know. But look, here's the thing. And if you're a Marlin fan, I'll say this. I don't know if Derek Jeter will be good at this, to be honest with you. I don't know, because how can you know, right? Michael Jordan hasn't been that good at it.
I think the problem with Jeter is... Go ahead.
But he will try very hard to give you a winning team. It may not work, but he will be trying. It's not like what you felt under Loria.
It's not in Jeter's temperament, I think, to be an ass.
No.
And to be difficult and just to be like that, a boss that comes in and thinks that you all suck and I'm going to fire you all. So I think he's learning at the same time that you can't always be a good guy and you just have to replace what's not working. If you're just paying a bunch of icons to just stand there and do nothing, it's a waste of money.
I agree.
Okay, whether they were a big part of the team or not. So in that sense, I think Jeter is just going to kind of go through the clubhouse, the organization, and see what he needs to do. It's no different than any other corporation that hires new people for a roster purge. And in my opinion, the greatest icon in Marlins history is Orestes Estrada.
Oh, of course, absolutely. Wouldn't think that. Number 4, Jason Lockenfora recently spoke with Colin Kaepernick, and the former 49ers quarterback discussed how he is still hoping for a chance to land on an NFL team, and he's been putting himself through grueling daily workouts to stay in shape. Lockenfora mentioned that Kaepernick will no longer kneel for the national anthem if signed to a contract, but clarified that he did not speak to Kaepernick about kneeling for the anthem, and the QB did not reveal whether he would or wouldn't if he was back on an NFL roster. The latest team to snub Kaepernick was the Titans, who worked out 4 QBs, not including him, and ultimately signed Brandon Weeden. Craig, does Colin Kaepernick have to sell out in order to land on an NFL roster again?
He doesn't have to, but it sounds like he would. Mainly because he wants a job and maybe he needs money. I don't know. That being said, though, it's going to look worse for him, I think, if he does, because, he started this whole thing and now all of a sudden unless he feels like I've said my piece, I'm moving on from it, so I'm going to respect the flag, respect the anthem, and all that stuff. Now, at this point, look, I hate the fact that he's not on a roster because I think he really should be on one. But I don't even know. I think at this point, too much has happened, and I think it's just going to ultimately hurt him for the rest of his career.
Here's the thing for me. If he decides not to protest anymore, I have no problem with that. Protests, like everything else, run their course. Plus, let's be fair, he kind of did his job, right? Like other guys are doing it. We're talking about it. And he's done so much. He has a foundation that he goes and meets with kids. And it's a whole thing where he teaches kids how to talk to cops. And he's dealt with some police organizations and stuff like that. So he's actually done and sunken a lot of his own money into doing this. So he actually is doing it for something. My problem continues to be the fact that people have no idea what the hell is going on. Colin Kaepernick, if you don't know, when he first decided to do this, was going to sit. He was going to sit. But he has uncles who are in the military, and he talked to soldiers, and the soldiers said to him, soldiers, I'm going to say it again, soldiers, so you know what I'm saying. Soldiers said to him that, don't sit. Sitting would be disrespectful. If you want to do something that shows a protest but won't be disrespectful to us, kneel. Right? So he got the okay from him. He's not kneeling to protest the flag. He's not kneeling to protest America. He's kneeling to protest police brutality against black men. That's what he's doing. Should he have a job? Yes. Is he going to have a job? No.
Here's what I will add to that. Teams at this point may think it might be worse to sign him because they don't know what's going to happen after they sign him. And you have to think about that too. I'm not saying, listen.
No, I agree.
He's getting a raw deal. He's getting a raw deal. We already know that. But the fact is that if, let's say, a team like the Tennessee Titans signs him, or let's say that the Jets sign him, this is just hypothetical.
There are very few teams he could go to.
But I'm saying, let's say it happens. The fact is how do you know that every week now there's not going to be a friggin' bomb threat called into the stadium, and then you're going to have to delay games because of that? I respect everything that he's done. It took a lot of guts to do what he did, okay? But at the same time, as I said before, you have to know that these are going to come with some kind of ramifications. And unfortunately, what it is he can't get a job. And that's what sucks about it.
But apparently it's okay for everybody else to kneel now, though. That's my only thing, right?
Again,
when everybody started doing it, that should have been the window, right? So,
I see your point 100%. Again, I do agree with you. Yeah. I think it's it's another double-edged sword we're dealing with here. Okay? He's getting a raw deal while the other players are allowed to get away with it. But now I think at this point, teams might be seeing it more as a detriment to sign him after the fact because they don't know what they're going to deal with after the fact. What if you get a bunch of white supremacists that show up at a game and start a brawl right in front of the stadium where a bunch of drunk fans are waiting to get in?
Oh, trust me, I get it. Okay. But here's the thing. You can't live life like that.
I agree with that, too. But at the same time, again, it's going to be a differing opinion for however long. So
I'm just used to living in a city where I could die at any minute, so it doesn't really matter to me.
Fair enough. Number 5, the Cavs are reportedly going with a new look to their lineup after signing Dwayne Wade. Kevin Love is being moved to center, which puts Tristan Thompson on the bench. Wade will start at shooting guard and will pair with Derrick Rose in the backcourt until Isaiah Thomas returns from back surgery in January. J.R. Smith will now come off the bench as well. Matty, does this setup make the Cavs better or worse in the long run this season?
It depends on who you're playing. This makes them better against the Golden State Warriors. This might make them worse against 75% of the other teams that actually have a center who can push Kevin Love around. But if you're playing a team where Draymond Green is the other center, Kevin Love as your center is not bad because he can back him down. He can go back to a low post game, which Kevin Love was excellent at when he used to play for the Timberwolves. I mean, he used to average 20 rebounds and 20 points. I mean, the guy was a rebounding machine when he was playing the 4 and the 5 in a classic offense as opposed to being out behind the three-point line. Look, the Cavs are making it to the finals. That lineup makes them better against the Warriors, and that's what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to beat them.
I don't think it matters because, like you just said, the Cavs are going to make the finals, and the only other team that's going to really challenge them this year is the Celtics, and that's pretty much. I'll just leave it at that. I mean, there's no.
Yeah, but that lineup can beat the Celtics. I mean, who's the Celtics center?
That's a good question. Who is the Celtics? Al Horford?
Maybe, but again, but that's my point, right?
Yeah.
Like the center position is now what power forward used to be. That's who the guys are playing,
Right.
So
there
you go.
Listen, at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. I mean, you could do a hodgepodge of however you want to do your starting five, but the Cavs are going to be the team to beat in the East, I think, regardless.
They are indeed. Number 6, the Lions have agreed on a multi-year contract extension with head coach Jim Caldwell. Terms of the deal were not released, but, here we go. Extension was agreed to months ago, just only recently announced. Caldwell is 29 and 22 since become the Lions head coach and has made the playoffs 2 out of 3 seasons in Detroit. The Lions are currently 3-2 this season after losing a tough one at home to Carolina on Sunday. Craig, did Caldwell deserve an extension, or were the Lions a bit premature?
Oh, I think the Lions were a bit premature. Caldwell, to me, has been an okay coach, not a great coach, not a guy I extend, whether before the season or during the season. I don't think he's good enough. I still see the same problems with the Lions, and maybe it's just me. The defense really isn't that good. I mean, yeah, they get turnovers and they score touchdowns, but for the most part, they get shredded. And they got shredded by Cam Newton on Sunday.
They did.
And how many years has it been since they had a freaking running game?
Well, Barry Sanders.
Thank you. I mean,
right? I think that's the
I would
last
say,
time they had a 1,000-yard rusher.
I'll go as far as say James Stewart when they had James Stewart when he was with the
right.
the
But
former.
I don't think they've had a 1,000-yard rusher since Barry Sanders.
But the thing is, they've never addressed that position. They have Amir Abdullah, who is overrated every year. He's going to be great. He's going to be great. Theo Riddick is just a pass-catching back. He's like an Amp Lee. He's like a Matt Forte.
Amp Lee, nice.
Okay?
Nice
but I'm
reference.
saying at the end of the day, the thing is they haven't gotten that power runner they need to help Matt Stafford with that offense. Because to be honest, Golden Tate and Marvin Jones are good receivers, but they're not great receivers.
Right.
They're not what they had with Megatron. Now, the thing is, at the end of the day, like I said, Caldwell is a nice coach, but he's not a guy I'm going to be jonesing to re-sign right away because if I let him go, it's not like he's going to get hired 5 minutes after I caught him.
Nope.
So I'd say no. I think the Lions were way too premature, and they should have at least played out this season.
Well, considering that without Matt Stafford, they're probably that you can probably reverse that record because he's had so many fourth quarter comebacks in the last couple of years. Look, we said the same thing when Caldwell took over for Tony Dungy, right? Like he's just riding the coattails of somebody else's coaching and team. Now he's been there long enough to where it's his, but has he won a playoff game? Have they done anything different? To me, if you're the Lions and you have a coach that's made the playoffs one year and then didn't, and then made the playoffs and then didn't, like you don't bring that guy back. You need consistency. Your entire history of your team has been that. So why are you keeping mediocrity around? But that's what mediocre teams do, right? They keep mediocrity around because that's what they're used to is, oh, well, if we just hover around 9-7, 10-6, and 11-5, we're going to eventually win the Super Bowl. No,
But it's like the Marvin Lewis syndrome in Cincinnati. He just keeps getting hired and hired and hired. And then he's just an average coach. He's an average to below average coach.
There's a guy who's literally never won anything.
So now you have Caldwell locked up for a few more years. And what if next year he goes 4-12?
I don't know.
Then you're going to want to, then you can't get rid of him because you're going to have to pay him.
I agree.
So I think the Lions should have just waited. I think there would have been better coaches. And I think there would have been coaches that would have taken that job next year.
Oh, sure. With that quarterback, sure.
Absolutely. And with that, closing time is officially over. And this episode of Polar Opposites is over. And we'd like to thank everybody for listening as always. Check us out as always, polaropposites.podbean.com, iTunes, and Spreaker.com. And follow us on Twitter at PolarOpposites1. Next week, we will be talking about the Yankees in the ALCS when they take on the Astros in Houston.
Stop.
They'll probably be up 2-0 by then. Okay, we'll talk football. We may even try to get into a little basketball. The season's right around the corner.
What?
Right?
Stop. You're crazy talk.
Why?
Crazy talk.
It's not a wrong possibility to talk about basketball, right?
We can talk about 3. We can talk about 4 teams. That's it. It's only worth my time. 5 teams. I'll make it 5. How's that? I'll add the Houston Rockets in there.
Fair enough. And anything else we could squeeze into this podcast? Again, one more time, polaropposites.podbean.com, iTunes, and Spreaker.com. And follow us on Twitter at PolarOpposites1. Enjoy the games. Enjoy the week. Enjoy the Yankees taking Game 5 tomorrow, over 24 hours from now, Maddie. I could sense you're fired up.
Such a jinx.
They got it. 5-2 final. Mark it down.
If you jinx the Yankees all the way to the World Series, it'll be the most Met thing to happen in a very long time.
That's very true.
You know, that's what I say about the thumbs down guy.
But here's the thing. I actually believe they're going to win.
Stop.
It's not a joke.
No, you don't.
I believe
You're
they're
just
going to
trying to be a
win.
jerk.
No, I'm not.
You're just trying to be a jerk. It's okay. It's fine.
Enjoy the week. Enjoy the games, and we will talk again next week.
Bye.